The Halloween mystery of Pumpkin Hollow. It was a crisp, chilly evening in late October, and the small town of Pumpkin Hollow was getting ready for its biggest night of the year, Halloween. The streets were lined with carved pumpkins, their crooked grins glowing eerily in the twilight. Cobwebs hung from doorways, and every house was decorated with spooky ghosts, skeletons, and witches. But this year, there was something extra special about Halloween in Pumpkin Hollow. Something mysterious. Three best friends, Lucy, Max, and Sophie, were more excited than ever. Every year, they dressed up and went trick-or-treating together, but this Halloween felt different. It wasn't just the full moon rising in the sky or the rustling leaves that whispered like secrets in the wind. No, it was the strange rumor that had been spreading all week, the legend of the Phantom of Pumpkin Hollow. According to the legend, on Halloween night, a mischievous phantom would appear and steal the most important piece of Halloween, the golden pumpkin. This special pumpkin, said to hold magical powers, was hidden somewhere in Pumpkin Hollow, and if the phantom got its hands on it, Halloween might never be the same again. "We have to find it before the phantom does," Lucy declared as they gathered in her front yard, all dressed in their costumes. Lucy was a daring pirate with a sword and hat, Max was a mad scientist with wild hair and goggles, and Sophie was a black cat with whiskers and a sparkly tail. Max adjusted his goggles and nodded. "If the phantom is real, we need to stop it. Halloween depends on us." Sophie, a little nervous but determined, tugged at her cat ears. "But how will we find the golden pumpkin? No one even knows where it is." Lucy grinned and pulled out a crumpled old map. "I found this in the library. It's said to lead to the golden pumpkin's hiding place." With wide eyes and pounding hearts, the three friends set off into the night, following the map through the winding streets of Pumpkin Hollow. The moon cast long shadows over the sidewalk, and the sound of distant laughter and footsteps echoed through the air as other kids trick-or-treated nearby. The map led them through the pumpkin patch on the outskirts of town. The giant pumpkins loomed like silent, orange guardians in the moonlight. As they ventured deeper into the patch, a strange rustling sound made them all stop. "What was that?" Sophie whispered, her whiskers twitching nervously. "I'm sure it's nothing," Max said, trying to sound brave, but his voice wavered a bit. They continued on cautiously, their eyes scanning the shadows. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a figure dashed past them, knocking over a pumpkin. The friends jumped, gasping in surprise. "It's the phantom!" Lucy cried, but when they looked closer, they realized it was just Mr. Holloway, the old pumpkin farmer, chasing after his dog. "Sorry, kids," Mr. Holloway called as he ran past, his dog barking happily at his heels. Relieved but still on edge, the friends pressed on, following the map through the patch until they reached an old, creaky barn at the very back of the field. The barn was covered in ivy, its wooden beams faded and worn. The air around it felt colder, and a strange mist seemed to rise from the ground. "This has to be it," Max whispered, his goggles fogging up from his nervous breath. "The golden pumpkin must be inside." Lucy led the way, pushing open the heavy barn doors with a loud creak. Inside, the barn was dark and quiet, the air thick with dust. Their flashlights flickered as they scanned the room. Old tools and hay bales lay scattered around, but in the center of the barn stood a lone pedestal. And on that pedestal sat the golden pumpkin, glowing faintly in the dim light. "We found it," Sophie gasped, her eyes wide with excitement. But just as they stepped closer, a gust of wind blew through the barn, slamming the doors shut behind them. Suddenly, the temperature dropped, and from the shadows emerged a figure, a tall, cloaked figure with glowing eyes. It was the Phantom of Pumpkin Hollow. His eerie laughter echoed off the walls as he glided toward the golden pumpkin. "Foolish children," the Phantom hissed. "You cannot stop me. This pumpkin's magic will be mine, and with it, I will control all of Halloween." Lucy stepped forward bravely, gripping her plastic sword. "We won't let you take it. Halloween belongs to everyone." The Phantom sneered, but Max, quick on his feet, had an idea. "The pumpkin's magic isn't for stealing, it's for sharing," he said, thinking fast. Maybe it doesn't belong to any one person at all. The Phantom paused, clearly surprised. Sharing? What do you mean? Sophie, now feeling braver, spoke up. Halloween is about fun and laughter, not tricks and stealing. If you take the magic for yourself, Halloween will lose its joy. But if you share it, the magic will be stronger for everyone. The Phantom seemed to consider this, his glowing eyes flickering. Finally, with a sigh, he lowered his cloak and stepped away from the pumpkin. Perhaps you're right, he said slowly. Perhaps Halloween's magic should be shared, not stolen. With a wave of his hand, the barn doors creaked open, and the cold mist lifted. The Phantom gave the children one last nod before vanishing into the night, leaving behind only a soft glow where he'd stood. The friends looked at each other, relieved and proud. They had saved Halloween. Carefully, they lifted the golden pumpkin from the pedestal, its warm glow lighting up their faces. "We did it," Lucy said with a grin. "We saved Halloween." As they carried the pumpkin back through the pumpkin patch, the whole town seemed to come alive with joy and laughter. The kids of Pumpkin Hollow would never know how close they had come to losing their favorite holiday, but Lucy, Max, and Sophie would always remember the Halloween when they stopped the Phantom and saved the magic of the golden pumpkin. And from that night on, the legend of the Phantom wasn't about a creature who stole Halloween. It was about three brave friends who learned that the true magic of Halloween is best when shared.